for joining us today. We're really happy to bring you some actionable resources today and tips that you can put into play right away for you and your employees. We understand that this is a really crazy and unprecedented time for everybody. Everybody's working remote, or you have newly remote teams, and you're trying to figure out how to facilitate well-being and wellness for a distributed workforce. So we're here to bring you applicable tips. We're going to keep it super real. This is the discussion. I have 4 amazing panelists with me here today, and we will have a lot of time for Q&A. So save them up, and we'll ask at the end of the presentation. So really quickly, I am Taylor Welsh. I'm the CEO of Walker Tracker. We are a wellness challenge platform. So not only do we track walking, but we track nutrition and meditation and sleep and a lot of other things. We build it into challenges to make it fun and engaging for folks, and we have been doing this since 2006. We've logged a lot of steps, as you can see, and we are in over 100 countries. Caitlin, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, thank you. So I am a counselor and trainer at Cascade Centers Employee Assistance Program. I've been there, again, since 2014. So my background's in trauma counseling. I'm also a certified alcohol and drug counselor. So I've worked a lot with groups and individuals. And a lot of what I do now is facilitate and create content for on-site trainings that we provide, as well as webinars. So kind of do a twofold where I work with individual clients while also doing training and teaching as well.
Awesome. And then a little background about Cascade Centers. If you want to talk about them, that'd be great.
Sure. So as an employee assistance program, we provide a lot of different services for the companies we contract with. Sometimes people think all we do is just the mental health component, but we do a lot of other things, including help with finding legal resources, financial resources, resource retrievals. So we're really kind of a holistic approach to supporting employees, and it is a free benefit to employees too. So sometimes people forget that we are part of their benefit package, and we like to remind people that we can be a really great resource for almost anything that's coming up in their life. But certainly that mental health component, that's really important. And I think that society as a whole is taking more of a serious look at and how important that is for individuals in terms of holistic health. So that's what we really try to support in terms of our employees.
Excellent. Yeah, so timely right now. Mental health, fighting and combating loneliness and isolation. So happy you're here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jace.
Hi, I'm Chase Sterling. I am based in Portland, Oregon, and I'm a culture and engagement consultant. So I partner with companies to develop strategies on how to approach individual well-being and organizational well-being. So going deeper than kind of traditional worksite wellness and really looking at the big culture picture, which I think is really important. And I've worked in a lot of different places. I've lived in a lot of different places. My background is in physiology and IO Psych. So that's a little bit about me. And then my company is called HHP Cultures, which stands for Happy, Healthy, Productive. And our mission is really to improve the world by improving workspaces. And being here in Portland, we work with a lot of wonderful broker partners as well. I also work with the Partners Group, which is based in Oregon, which is a boutique brokerage firm. And I help their clients as well in developing strategies. So really, I just partner with organizations on how to provide resources to make their company better and to help their people.
Awesome. Thanks, Jace. Katherine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katherine Deumling, and I have a company called Cook With What You Have, which I've had for 10 years. And I really am passionate about food and food as a lens for healthy society, world, planet, and strong communities. And I approach that in a myriad ways. And often it really is just helping people find creativity and joy and sort of scrappy resilience in cooking with what they have, which is becoming more and more important. I am a breast cancer survivor, so have gone through that sort of lived experience of trauma, and with an incredible sort of well of resource that I brought to that in terms of nourishment. So not that that is applicable to what we're in right now, but it is an interesting parallel to think about how we operate in stressful times and what resources we can give ourselves and how we can get a little bit of sense of control and agency. So I look forward to talking about that in a little bit.
Awesome. And then here's a little bit of background about Cook With What You Have, if you want to tackle that from a platform standpoint.
Would love to. So Cook With What You Have works with employers and individuals to provide really that small steps of inspiration and tactics to nourish yourself and your families and your communities well. So that is a really robust platform online with 1,000 recipes, tips, videos, tools for pantry stocking, tools for saving, wasting less food and therefore saving more money in terms of being prepared and being able to with for last minute. And yeah, I love working with employers. I do workshops, a lot of those in person typically, but moving online. So how to cook, how to do that day to day in really small steps that give you that sort of learning that keeps you going and helps you commit to feeling well and feeling your best all the time.
Awesome. Love it. So relevant right now because everyone's cooking at home, right? If we're not doing delivery. Awesome. Charlie.
My name is Charles Verdugo, although if you guys know me, you'll call me Charlie. So Charles Verdugo, president and founder of Breakthrough Success. And I'm a financial wellness trainer and life coach. And believe it or not, those two go incredibly well together because one helps the other when the other one isn't working and the other and vice versa is the same. But I've had the privilege to help literally thousands of people in my 25 years of banking and lending. I've helped thousands of people from really every walk of life. So every job family, every age, every demographic, and literally every phase of life. And I've helped every kind of person. And I found that financial wellness doesn't discriminate and that our life can and should be incredible. And if we're lucky enough to get a paycheck once a month or twice a month or once a week or however we get it, that our life should be amazing. And we can build wealth on any income as long as we have that plan in place. And my goal is to bring that plan in a very meaningful way to the people that I serve.
Awesome. And Breakthrough Success.
And so Breakthrough Success, actually, the name of the company, my girlfriend actually told me, she goes, that's kind of a cheesy name for the company. I go, yeah, but those are the two things that happen. So I want to call it this. So first, you help people see that, they could have accomplished their goals all along. And that's the breakthrough, right? So that's the breakthrough that happens when people realize, oh my gosh, I have all the tools and the abilities and I have the know-how, the knowledge, and I can accomplish anything. And right after the breakthrough is when you experience success. And that's where the real meaning comes into it. So that's why I call it that. Even though my girlfriend says, hey, I could have come up with something with, maybe Greek symbols and things like that in my name. I just wanted to call it what it does and what my mission is. So that's my mission, is to bring that experience to people and make sure that it's meaningful and people understand that, that they have the tools and the resources to accomplish anything that they want to accomplish.
Awesome. I love it. And as we watch what's happening with the economy, it's going to be so important to pass a little bit of security along to employees as well. So, directing them to the resources that are available to them. And Charlie's going to help us guide through that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to just our panel here. Bear with me. Awesome. So we're going to go back through our panelists and I'm just going to prompt a couple of questions and get them to weigh in on how we can act right now. So let's start with Caitlin.
All right.
What concerns are you addressing right now for your customers, your community, maybe your employees or your team? And then how are you tackling those with a focus on solutions and things that we can do right now with kind of this whole change of environment?
Sure, great question. So one of the big pieces that we sort of immediately are finding as something we're needing to tackle is the ability to stay connected to counselors. A lot of people go to a counselor in person for sessions, and now all of a sudden we're understandably social distancing and staying home and staying healthy. So that continuity of care is really important. And what we are doing is ensuring that we can offer as an EAP telehealth options. So that would be either telephonic or video counseling with a licensed counselor. So we are really making sure to provide that consistency of treatment that people are looking for, so they don't feel like they're unable to connect to a counselor. So that telehealth piece is a big one. And then of course also, and I think a lot of us are experiencing this, and other people on this panel can probably weigh in on this as well, of just a general sense of anxiety. Nobody likes to feel like they don't have control over their life or control over what's going to happen. And so something like this is scary and causes a lot of fear and anxiety. So of course we as a mental health provider and organization want to be able to support our employees, our groups, and ourselves in that process too. So a few things that we do, again, we partner with an organization called BetterHelp that provides telehealth services. And what's nice about that is that they have a really quick turnaround time of getting in with a counselor. Our counselors on site are also set up to be able to provide telehealth sessions with clients. So that is something very sort of current that we're doing right now to be able to address that. We also work with a lot of our groups and contract with them and offer something called Whole Life Directions, which is a self-assessment tool that is evidence-based, and it can really assess people on different areas such as stress, anger management, PTSD, which would be post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use issues. And when people take that assessment, they can then be routed through an app directly to be able to do sort of a self-paced digital treatment modules that are also evidence-based through cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's also helpful because it's all digital. People can do it at their own pace and their own time. And sometimes with times like that we're in right now, we're feeling anxious, but we don't really know why or what else might be going on. So having some more insight on that can be really helpful. So that's a tool that EAP provides as well. And then another thing is that sometimes we just need to calm down. And when we talk about feelings, and I know I'm going to get really counselory here, but I'm a counselor, so they're called feelings, they're not called thinkings. So we feel our feelings in our body. And I have done a lot of work with groups and individuals about what emotion regulation looks like. And we sometimes only try to kind of think our way out of our emotional state when it's really a physiological experience that we're having. And so being aware of what our body is telling us is so important. And so sometimes just doing simple grounding techniques are really helpful. So I wanted to go through quickly a couple of those. What I like about both of the ones I'm going to share is that you can do them anywhere, anytime, and they're super quick and easy. So grounding is just getting present. When we are anxious, we are not present. So the first one is called square breathing. And it's funny, sometimes I'll do a training and people will say, my first grader learned that in their class. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter how old you are. We can all do it and benefit from it. So a breath is 4 steps. So it would be the pause before you breathe in, the breath in, the pause before you breathe out, and the breath out. And what square breathing is just to have all 4 of those steps take the same amount of time. And I don't give people amount of time to use because everyone's breath is your own comfort. So whether that's 2 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever that is for you. But what that allows you to do is regulate and even out your breathing. Because when we get anxious, we actually focus too much on that in breath, but the out breath is really cleansing as well. So that's one way of grounding. The other one is an activity called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. And all that is you just list 5 things wherever you are at any given time. Just list the first 5 things you can see. Doesn't matter if that's your computer monitor, your cell phone, whatever you're around, just list those 5 things. 4 things you can physically feel from wherever you are. Whatever that, your chair, your feet on the ground. 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell. And if that's challenging, 2 things you like the smell of. And then 1 thing, it really depends. Sometimes I'll have people pick 1 thing that they are grateful for or 1 thing that they're proud of themselves about, just something positive and kind of grounding that they can do. And I found a lot of people, just simple, quick things like that helps people just bring it back, bring it down for a second and help with anxiety and regulate their physiological system too. So those are kind of the main things that we try to do, that real-time stress reliever, as well as being able to connect people to their therapists and treatment outside as well so they don't feel as isolated.
Awesome. Fantastic. So I just want to remind everybody that is on the call, we're going to be sending out all these tips. So You didn't have to write down square breathing and the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you did, fantastic. It's probably now locked in your brain. But all that will be sent out. So if you want to, just take that information from the deck and the resources, put it in an email, ship it off to your employees. Hey, here's 2 things you guys can do right now to release anxiety, to calm down, to take a couple of breaths. It's ready to go and it's packaged for you. So thank you so much, Caitlin. That was awesome. Chase, I'm gonna pass it over to you. Can you talk a little bit about concerns that you're addressing right now with your customers and employers that you work with, and your solutions and actionable items for right now in this environment?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an extraordinarily stressful time for everyone, for employers and employees. Employees are worried about losing their jobs, about finances. They're very concerned about how their companies are performing and how this is going to impact the company they work for. Companies are very concerned with their people. They don't want to go through furloughs. They don't want to go through layoffs, but sometimes they're being forced to do that. I have a lot of clients who've gone through layoffs and furloughs in the past 2 weeks, and they're really struggling. No matter where you're at right now, I think the most important thing an employer can do is communicate, over communicate with your employees. I don't think there's a thing as over communicating in this type of crisis situation. And you really need to be transparent. Even if it's hard, and it is hard right now to have these kind of crucial conversations, but you need to prepare your employees and help them be prepared with every resource you can provide. If you think that you're going to have to go through layoffs or furloughs, put that information out to your employees. You know, give them a time frame of, hey, we're trying to do XYZ by this date, and if we don't, this is where what we think we're going to have to do. That also builds trust. When we talk about psychologically safe workspaces, one of the crucial things employers have to do is communicate. So continue that communication, and it's so crucial that your leadership is sending out messaging. I've been very impressed working with the Partners Group because I'm seeing a lot of the things they're doing, and both their president and their CEO were sending out messages throughout the week, encouraging messages, also very transparent messages, just letting people know what's happening with the business, what's happening with our clients, what's happening in the states that we reside in Oregon and Washington and Montana. And I know we have people who are on this call who are from outside of the US as well. And I think that information is still very practical. We're dealing with different laws and guidelines, but transparency and communication, I think, are key. And also forward-thinking planning. From the employer side, it's really crucial to start looking at your policies right now. And a lot of policies are going to be changing. And the easiest one to think about is how we're all working remotely right now. And you might not have allowed remote work before. You might have said it wasn't possible. And guess what? It probably became possible right now. Oh, the poll popped up in front of my screen. So I had to minimize that, distracting. So I think this is time for your leadership teams and human resources. We really need you to bring that voice to the leadership conversations and help them understand how, you know, a lot of times, sometimes the executive teams don't see things the same way as our human resource leaders. So it's very important that we're collaborative and talk about what is possible. Right now you have parents who are working and their kids are home. You might have the sandwich generation, people in my age group who are taking care of their parents and they're taking care of children. So you're also not going to be dealing with peak productivity at this time either. We're all just kind of in survival mode. So employers, use every resource at your disposal. If you happen to have a broker partner, definitely lean on your broker partner for resources. Your vendor partners, like Walker Tracker is a great example, like of providing resources through their own website. A lot of vendors are doing a lot of things for free right now. And really continuing to still focus on well-being in the workplace, I think, is important. And I really think, again, focusing on psychological health and safety is important now. Things Caitlin talked about. One of my favorite things too is to talk about gratitude. I always like to say mindset, mindfulness, and gratitude. Is now the right time to talk about that, or should I hold back a little?
No, if you want to give us a brief overview of gratitude, I think it's perfect. You had mentioned that before, and I would love it if you touch on it.
Absolutely. So I love to talk about focusing on the positive, and those are the three things I typically talk about: mindset, mindfulness, and gratitude. This is information you as an employer can share out, and this is information that you as an individual can practice. So it's really for everyone. Mindset, I start with cementing a phrase. And actually several people on this call know my phrase. So my phrase used to be, make it an awesome day. And I'd wake up and I'd say, I'm going to make it an awesome day. And then sometimes I get out of bed and I step in cat puke. I'm still going to make it an awesome day. And then I run to catch my train, but I was late because I was cleaning up cat puke. I'm still going to make it an awesome day. And it kind of goes on like that. This environment has been so chaotic, and I've actually had a really chaotic 2020. So my mindset phrase is, I'm doing the best I can. And I think it's very relevant with everything we're all going through. So I can't tell you the amount of times I tell myself, and I tell my colleagues, I'm doing the best I can right now. Mindfulness, again, is being in that present moment. I think Caitlin's exercises were perfect, and I'm in organizational psychology, not personal psychology. I'm not the person to talk to about that. But I always like to focus on what can you control in this moment. And I think giving people a sense of control helps them feel better. So in a workplace, maybe not being as rigid as when people need to be online. So if people are able to do their work remotely, it's like, hey, try to reply to people during business hours. However, we know you might have kids at home you're taking care of. You might have someone sick. You might be ill. So we trust you to get the work done, and you might just need to work your own hours right now. And then gratitude, there is so much evidence-based research that people who practice gratitude are happier, have better psychological health, have better physical health, and it can help you sleep. And I really like to cement the end of the day with gratitude before bedtime. If you're a person of faith, this is something you can easily build into a prayer type practice. If you're not a person of faith, practicing gratitude is non-secular. So it's really just talking about naming 3 things you're grateful for. And in times like these, it could be those bare minimums of, I have a roof over my head, I'm warm, and I'm fed. And those are things not everyone has right now, or everyone I know is healthy. What a thing to be grateful for right now. I was able to get the food that I need. I was able to nourish my body and my family today. So practicing gratitude can help kind of calm your mind, especially before bed when our minds tend to race. So employers encourage those practices. You could build those things into team meetings. You could just send out gratitude exercises. And again, we'll be providing a lot of resources for you today. So I think those are things that both the employer can hand out, and then us as individuals, we can practice, especially if your employer is maybe not doing that, or if you're in the instance where maybe you're not working right now. And so you need something to help you center and get you through this time. So I could talk a lot. I'm gonna pull it back now.
Well, we already have a question for you. I'm going to hold it back until we get through everybody, but I love that. I think that one thing that just stuck with me right off the bat was trust. Was that with remote working, you now have to have this immense trust in your employees, right? And KPIs are out the window, right? We have to find different ways to measure productivity when you don't have the face time, and managing people looks a lot different. So trust and also flexibility with your employees, because I know my employees have children, and we need to make sure that they can take care of their family first, as well as do their work. So thank you. Katherine, I'm going to hop over to you. Can you talk a little bit about, some of the struggles that you're dealing with right now for your customers, and then how you're tackling it? So from the perspective of everybody's cooking at home for the most part, and we're trying to figure out creative ways to not just eat rice and broccoli every single day. So some tips for that would be awesome.
Yes, thank you. So to zoom out just a little bit, and think about and talk about why cooking is so important and potentially does so much more than just nourish our bodies. And I think of it in a couple of different ways. So we're desperately needing some routine because our routines are out the window. At the same time, we're stuck at home. So finding a routine around cooking is, I think, really useful. It is a sort of forced moment of mindfulness because we're hopefully away from our screens, we're away from our news cycle for a little bit, we're engaging in something in a more tactile manner, thinking about what Caitlin was saying about a smell, what we can feel and touch. And so connecting around something we need to do to nourish ourselves, but it gives us all those other sort of grounding moments at the time. It also gives us something new to learn, which I think we're so used to, like being out and about, new shiny objects that keep us going. So we're having to find ways to feel creative and satisfied, again, more than just the calories we're taking in. So I think cooking is something that a lot of people don't think of before this time, maybe, that can give us some of that learning and creativity and sort of hopefulness of moving forward, and really all of these things together in helping us physically stay strong and emotionally. So having our immune system strong and thriving is more important than ever. So cooking can do all of those things. It can also be really overwhelming if you're used to grabbing takeout on your way home, if you're used to, going to your favorite bar after a stressful day at work. So on the flip side, that pressure of needing to nourish yourself and your family potentially during these times is a lot. So I want to acknowledge that we're not all at home going, oh, yay, I get to make this beautiful 3-course meal now, because we've been working. As Chase was saying, we're potentially less efficient because we're managing all sorts of new scenarios of children and partners and in small spaces. So both of these, there are a lot of paradoxes that we're dealing with right now. So both of these are true. Cooking and taking good care of ourselves is more important than ever, and giving ourselves a break if we're not making 3-course meals or learning how to bake a pie for the first time. So want to start with that. So what specifically I think employers can do is, help remind your employees, whether it's through Cook With What You Have and the online platform I offer, or any number of other resources out there, that a very good thing for your employees to do is take good care of themselves and find simple ways to cook on a daily basis so that they're nourished, and help them financially be smart about that, which means, we're being asked to only go to the store, infrequently. So what might that look like? So I'll start with some of my specific tips on that front. So let's say you're going to the store for your weekly shop. You want to get, some fresh things that'll be more interesting. And so get fresh fruits, get fresh vegetables, get your dairy products or meats or the more perishable things, but don't get too much, because as far as I can tell, the supply chains are doing fine and things are being restocked, and you don't want those to go bad, and you don't want to have that sort of guilt feeling that comes up and you see the arugula going bad because you didn't get to it. So buy some of those things, but don't get too much. You won't have enough storage space for it probably, and you may not get through it. And then get some of the more shelf-stable things like rice or beans or quinoa, or things that your family likes. I would say it's a good time to experiment a little, but it's also really important to buy things that you like and the people you're feeding like, because adding more stress by insisting that you try something new, I'm experiencing this with my child, is not a good strategy for right now, I would say. So buy some of those things. And then I talk about this concept of a little prep, a lot of freedom, which is rather than going through extensive meal planning and I'm going to have this on Tuesday and this on Wednesday. I don't think any of us have the bandwidth for that right now. So I think of it more as setting yourself up with some basics. So cook a big pot of rice or beans, roast a pan or two of vegetables, make a really flavorful, I've been using peanut sauce as my example lately because it's so easy. Buy the peanut butter, you probably have soy sauce. I talk about always having garlic and ginger on hand these days. They're really immune boosting. They're super flavorful. I'm using them almost every night in lots of different ways. But let's go back to the peanut sauce. So you have your peanut butter, you have some ginger and garlic possibly, or you just have soy sauce and a little bit of rice vinegar or lime and water to thin it out. You mix all that up, you have a really delicious, strongly flavored sauce that you can put on anything. My son just ate more vegetables than I've ever seen him eat because he dipped them all in the peanut sauce. So Win-win. So back to the notion of a little bit of prep, a lot of freedom. So make yourself a sauce and then have the vegetables, maybe hard boil half a dozen eggs, and then wash your fresh vegetables. So that's all ready. And then as time passes and meals come and go, you can assemble different pieces into a whole variety of different types of meals. Lastly, I want to talk about, make a batch of cookies with your family. Have your kids join you if you have kids at home to make a meal. Give them total control. My only rule I have with my son is there has to be a vegetable. And if that means it's carrot sticks, it's carrot sticks. And that's totally fine. But let them decide what they want to make with what you have on hand, and then they can taste it and they can decide if it needs more of this or that. And honestly, the best mood my son has been in the last few days is when I've given him a chance to do that. And then he gets to serve us dinner and eats, loves it, is so proud. So I think cooking with your kids is a really, and even if there's resistance at the beginning, I would say push a little bit and say, no, we're going to do this. Because I think you'll see that engagement, that agency, that creativity will come out and make everyone feel better. So I think I may be needing to wind it up here, but those are a couple of the tips I would give you for right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have like a bunch of people that want that peanut recipe, so we'll make sure we send the peanut sauce recipe out after the end of this. I want to highlight a couple things really quick that stood out for me. Routine and structure is so important. And I've heard this from so many people lately. I'm on the phone every day with customers and brokers and health plans. And the first thing I do is, how are you? And they're all like, I don't know, what day is it? So I just really appreciate your nod to building out a routine, and not only around physical activity and mental well-being and all of these other aspects, but also around cooking. And as far as it goes to like connect the dots between employers and employees, another great resource. We're going to send out all those tips from Katherine, and you can really just relay that into your own language and send it out to your employers. She does have a free month of access on her site too. So if you did want to offer, in the next month, who knows what's really going to happen. So if you wanted to offer a really awesome platform to empower your employees to learn to cook with what they already have at home, save some money, then I would definitely check out her site. So got the peanut sauce. Check. Charlie, you are up next.
Yeah, peanut sauce, that actually made me hungry. So I'll be looking for that recipe. So that's awesome. But I'm going to share a few financial wellness tips with you. But I know that we're in an environment right now where a lot of people may be feeling stress or pressure, and their finances are certainly at the very top of that. But I would like to share a little information with you, because even before we had this little ripple, is what I'm calling it, because I know that we're going to get past it and things are going to be great once again. But even before that, your employees were feeling a sense of stress about their finances, and a good percentage of them are spending more than what they earn. And I'll give you a few statistics. I won't stay stuck in the weeds on statistics, but I'll just share a few with you. So we know that 76% of employees are living paycheck to paycheck. So 76%, so nearly 3/4 of us are running out of payday before we run out of month, right? So 3/4 of us are running out of paycheck before we run out of month. And then close to 50% are carrying constant credit card debt. And these credit card numbers actually are building up and up and up, and that's certainly contributing to the pressure. And we know close to 70% have less than $1,000 in savings. So we've kind of shifted the way that we used to purchase things. And like when I start off my financial wellness overview presentation, I'll tell people, I'll say, think of your grandparents. Imagine they're young and they're starting off and they're holding hands, and imagine what are they borrowing for back in this time? What are they using credit and debt for back in this time? And a lot of people go, oh, maybe a house, maybe a business. Yeah, I go, yeah, those things are definitely, but what else? What else are they borrowing for? And they go, boy, nothing else. And so then I'll say, well, let's fast forward now. What are we borrowing for now? And people go, boy, I borrowed for my last pizza. I paid for my last movies, my vacation, and all those things. So we are using credit and debt the way that we used to save for things. And when you save for something, it actually is incredibly meaningful. So maybe you save up for that dream vacation that you want to go on, right? Maybe you're planning, hey, next year we're going to go on that dream vacation, and then all of a sudden something pops up and you can't go. But all right, we have to put that off. So you save for maybe another year, and at that point it becomes incredibly meaningful that you save for something, you built it. Maybe you're working with a loved one or a significant other, and you built that together. You save for something, and you got the gift of building that together. So my goal is to teach people to use cash and to save for things the way that that we're now using for credit. But I'm going to give you a few financial wellness tips. These are not super sexy, but they actually have a great foundation to any budget and to any financial platform. And it's the very building blocks of financial wellness. So the very first one is, I say, create your plan. And I'm hesitant to call it a budget because a budget almost has a feeling like you're limiting yourself. It's like a diet, right? How long will a diet last? Because your focus is on what you're depriving yourself of. If I believe that I have to have chocolate cake, all of a sudden my brain's not going to let me deprive myself of that. It's going to seek out, it's going to find chocolate cake, and it's going to deliver it in about a week or two, and I'll be off my diet, right? Same with your budget. So whatever chocolate cake is for you in your budget. So I like to call it a plan, a strategy. Use positive affirmations when you're thinking of it. So my wealth strategy plan is, and you lay it out, get it out of your head and get it on paper, because this is very stressful relieving. So if you know that if you're in a time and a place right now where maybe you had kind of a cutback on your hours, or you're not getting bonus pay, or maybe you're on you're getting unemployment right now. So any of those things, a plan, a wealth strategy plan is going to help you stay on track. It's going to help you be mindful about the way that you're doing your spending. And if you really want to be on top of it, create a 12-month plan and put a goal at the end of that. So now your budget has a target. So you have a target and you know where you're going to end up at the end of the year or at the end of the month. Number two, automate everything. We're in a time and a place where that's very easy to do. Most of us get direct deposit, and you have that paycheck that hits your account. You can automate the transfer to savings to all of your bills. That makes sure that everything gets paid on time, that you're actually focusing on building savings. And then you can take a couple of dollars out for yourself and know that that's all automatic and your finances are taken care of, and you have room in your brain for other things, right? Number three, consider canceling any memberships and shopping clubs and music services and mobile apps and even gym memberships. If your gym isn't open right now, you could probably freeze that and save yourself a few dollars. And even though you might not think that that adds up to very much, if you look at 1 year worth of spending and all of those, they could be pretty significant, especially if you're in that category of having less than $1,000 in savings. I was working with a gal not too long ago, and she had Spotify and Amazon Prime and Audible and several streaming services, and they added up to $171 a month. So looking at them, she goes, boy, I don't really need all those, and I don't even live near that gym anymore. And anyway, she canceled all of those, and she was able to put an additional $171 a month into savings, or about $2,100 at the end of the year. So $2,100 additional to what she was already doing. Number four, review all of your plans and your contracts with your service providers. So cable, internet, phone. I personally saved $150 a month by doing this in my own situation. Worked with a lot of times we'll sign up with the companies and we're in an old plan. They have lots of new plans, and you can work with their customer retention department, and they have lots of great plans to save you and keep your business, and you can actually make some mindful decisions about, do I need 350 channels, on my cable? Get out and get some exercise. I personally scaled my internet way back. Excuse me, not my internet. I scaled my cable way back. And I did this a long time ago when my kids were still home. And this is during that last economic downturn in 2009. And I told the kids, I go, all right, we've got the smallest cable plan. We've got Netflix, and that's your deal. And the truth is we never missed anything. And we call it our poor years, but it was the best years of our life because we were out taking walks and getting exercise. And very quickly you can find out, yeah, see, I got Walker Tracker, thumbs up, getting exercise. And because you can find out very quickly that there's nothing on. It's just click, click, click. All right, that's the end of our deal. Let's get outside and do something and have fun and do something that's healthy for ourselves. Number 5, use a grocery list. When you use a grocery list and you plan out all your meals, you're going to make, number 1, more healthier choices, and you're going to make better nutrition decision for yourself. But the real miracle is you're going to save 30% off your grocery bill on average. So 30% off your grocery bill, and you'll have 50% less waste. So 50% less waste. Now, this next point that I'm going to give, this actually isn't, I actually give this point even when we're not in whatever it is that we're in right now. Don't purchase more than what you really need. And a lot of people ask me about buying in bulk and things like that when I'm doing my financial wellness presentations. And the truth is, if you're in the situation where you have less than $1,000 in savings, you need cash in the bank more than you need 55 gallons of peanut butter in your pantry. Or whatever it is that you're bulking up on, right? Maybe you need 55 gallons of peanut butter to make that delicious peanut sauce, but something else, right? Whatever it is you're stocking up on, cash is more important, and it's going to be there to help you in the case of emergency. So those are my tips for right now. I could actually fill this whole presentation with more. The companies I work with, I send out financial wellness tips once a week to them to send out to their employees. But so I could do this endlessly, but those are the building blocks to financial wellness. I hope it's helpful for you guys.
Awesome. Yes. And we will be sharing those out at the end. I love what you just talked about with this little ripple. I think that's super important right now, which is we're all kind of coming into this, and the media is exploding with this fear mindset, right? And it's kind of the complete opposite or polar opposite of an abundance mindset. And it's really, really difficult to have an abundance mindset right now. But if we can just shift slightly away, like I look at it like a scale, right? It's not binary. But if we can move a little bit out of the fear mindset, I think it'll be really helpful in all of these categories. One other thing I really liked was kind of getting creative with what's important to you, right? If we're looking at saving some money, how important is HBO, right? Could we instead go on a walk? Could we instead cook a meal? Could we take 15 minutes to do a meditation or a mindfulness session? So just helping your employees think outside the box. Like, let's do things differently. This is actually an opportunity for us to build these things into our lives that are actually more meaningful and better for our health and well-being than kind of going to I'm just going to get Netflix and that sort of thing. So I really love that nod to creativity there. Rob's going to post a quick poll because we have a financial question for you. And we will share the results. And then based on kind of what we get from that, we can ask Charlie to provide some extra tips that are relevant for your guys' answers. We are going to hop into questions. So feel free to just chat them in via Zoom, and I will relay them to our speakers. All right, let's see here. So Chase.
Yes.
If a company is on a tight budget, this is actually kind of a Charlie Chase question, but if a company's on a tight budget or actually has no budget right now for employee wellness and benefits packages, what do you think is the thing that they can do that is the most impactful or the biggest bang for their buck right now?
So there's so many free resources out there, and I have to tell you that a lot of my clients don't have wellness budgets. They might be using me as a consultant, but they don't really have a budget for programs. And I think people always jump into programs, and Charlie, it was funny you use the word sexy. I do it too. People always want to do a program because it's sexy, like we need to do a program, but the building blocks are really leadership, policies, and environment. That's where you need to start. Are you doing everything? Is your leadership leading by example? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? How are your policies supporting an environment of health and well-being, and what does your environment actually look like? So right now, I think using every resource available to you, if you have a broker partner, all your vendor partners, if you have an EAP, reach out. And I think even with EAPs, I'm going to give a shout out to Caitlin. EAPs are overwhelmed right now too. Everyone's under stress and anxiety. So also don't just ask about maybe the benefit, which might be a counseling session, but also ask, do you have online resources? Do you have things people can do on their own? And there are so many wonderful things happening with this crisis. So many people, there's so many vendors doing free fitness classes and giving free access to their apps. I know over the next month, I'm doing some free webinars that anyone can come into that I normally do for employers, like managing mindfully and focusing on the positive. And then of course I can do them private for employers, but I'm just doing those for free. I know Walker Tracker, you guys did some great things, some discounting and adding on. So I think just reach out. My HR professionals, if you're not a member of SHRM, I am going to give the SHRM forum just a shout out because I get those I'm a member of SHRM, and so I'm on the forum a lot. And I think everyone wants to know what everyone else is doing, and there's so much collaboration and community happening. And LinkedIn is a great place too. Like go to LinkedIn and see what people are posting, maybe go into some groups. There's so many people out there who want to help and are freely sharing information and resources. So, you know, take advantage of everything for free that you can first, and think about the building blocks of what you can control. And you can control your culture, the environment, your organization, everything that forms when we talk about a culture of well-being. That's what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You just mentioned, you just racked off a ton of different resources. We'll make sure those are shared. Just off the top of my head, like Core Power Yoga, Bar 3, Down Dog Yoga. There's all these apps right now that are streaming exercise classes. It's coming at you as kind of the physical activity at home person. There's access that you can just access, or you can give out to all of your employees right now. And so they can stay motivated and actually have something guiding them through physical movement. Caitlin, my next question is for you. Loneliness is a concern with my newly remote workforce. How can I connect my people or help them combat loneliness in this time of isolation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know, I've thought a lot about that just because it is such a sort of widespread question that people are having right now. And I think there's sort of a twofold answer to it. There's a lot of what I talk about with clients is being proactive, and also, you know, trying to be proactive about how we're feeling, being intentional about our self-care. And for many people, they're not used to being alone so much, or maybe by themselves. A lot of people are really extroverted, which is great, and they're out and about and doing things with other people. And so that sort of solitary time or downtime is kind of a shock to some people's system. So there's two things. One, it's thinking, how do I work through some anxiety of just having more downtime with my own feelings and thoughts? And sometimes it's okay to actually take some time and do some mindfulness and be more comfortable with our feelings and thoughts without needing a constant distraction. But then also, it is incredibly important and also critical to have those social interactions and components happening too. So I think having that proactivity of how do I connect to people, not just over the phone, but with video as well. I mean, personally, I'm in a book club. We did a virtual book club. You know, like we went the extra mile and said, like, we want to make sure we're still connecting to each other, and we want to see each other and be able to relate to one another, not feel so isolated in our own homes, and feeling that loneliness that is very detrimental to our mental health and physical well-being. So it really, I think, is finding that sense of what do I need right now? And do I need to call someone? Do I need to set up a time to FaceTime or video chat one person or a group of people? And am I going sort of in that proactive way to seek that out and set that up? Because it is easy to just kind of feel stuck and isolated, but there are a lot of technological ways to connect to people still. So I think it's really important to see what's out there and utilize those resources, while also taking the time to kind of allow ourselves the ability to sit with our own feelings and thoughts and what that feels like too.
Love that. Thank you.
Sure.
Katherine, my next question is up for you. Is there anything that you've started doing as a result of this isolation or time of social distancing that you'll continue to do in your normal day-to-day life. So what are some of the things that, from a cooking standpoint or a prepping standpoint, that we're actually able to continue to implement?
That's a great question. I think even for someone who cooks all the time and has made a business of it, I tend to not focus on or not be as aware of all the other benefits, the mindfulness, the control, the de-stress, the away from my screen. So for me, that I think is something I'm going to continue doing. I just made naan, you know, the wonderful Indian flatbread with my son the other day. It's incredibly easy. It was a weeknight. I had worked all day, and it was sort of like, this isn't a big project. This is so simple. And, you know, most of it is not active time. So, and it was like warm, buttery, salty, doughy things. I mean, so delicious and made me so happy. So I think that, yeah, spending more time with my kid doing it and remembering all the ways in which it makes my day better beyond just getting meals on the table. So I guess bringing a mindfulness to what I'm doing, which I espouse to do, but I realize I haven't always done. So this time is because I'm actually pulled away from it more because I'm working more. And so coming back to it as a routine, mindful routine is something I'm going to commit to doing more of, and making more naan.
I love that. Just a little add to nod at the end. All right, really quick before I relay my question to Charlie, we do realize that there's a lot of companies that are not remote right now, that they actually have to offer their employees PTO, or, you know, they're required to use sick time for this. So I just want to mention that from our standpoint, for the people in the organizations that I'm talking to, it's actually still a really important time to communicate with those people. And perhaps even more important, because if they're not connected to the day-to-day aspects of work life, they're not getting the regular communications, they're on PTO, you know, they might need a way to connect to other people. So giving them an offer of free resources, or, you know, a challenge, or maybe a list of things that they can be doing from home. They may not have another resource for that at this moment. So we'll share out those resources. I mentioned that a couple times, and it might be actually a great time to reach out to those people and keep them in the loop. They might be feeling lonely and need that. So Charlie, do you have any suggestions on how to provide financial advice to a broad group of people? My population has a wide range of salaries and access to capital. Is there a way that we can provide useful tips that are applicable for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually in the way that we're doing this today with easy access to video chat and webinars and those type of things. It makes it very easy to deliver in a time and a place that's convenient, where not only it will go out to your employees, but it could go out to their spouses or significant others, and you can reach the people that are that really need the help. The way that I deliver this through my company is I offer on-site financial wellness presentations, of course, and we're actually at a time and place where that's actually most of those companies have canceled until well after April. And we're actually delivering through webinars, doing it through webinars. And then I also work with the employees one-on-one and help them set up their financial plan. And I also do this through video chat. So somebody can go on their lunch break and go sit in their car, do a video chat, and we can help them figure out, you know, hey, what are your next financial wellness steps, and help you put a plan in place. Maybe it's a debt strategy, you know, maybe I'll be working with an employee. I'll give you one, for instance. I had a gal that she said, my situation's hopeless. I don't know what to do, right? I'm doing this, that, and the other, nothing's working. Anyway, in 30 minutes, we were able to take her from hopeless to hopeful. And she started from hopeless, but she left that conversation knowing that she's going to be debt-free in 2 years and 2 months, and having X amount of dollars in savings on top of it. So she goes, oh, I can do this. That's the plan, right? So, and that's through one-on-one, and that's actually just through using electronics, through video coaching and helping set up a plan in place. Hopefully that's helpful to you.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
So we have just a couple minutes left. If you guys want to send in questions, we will try to get through them. We've all agreed to kind of hang out here for an extra 5 or 10 minutes. If you guys want to keep sending those questions in, of course, we will send all this out, and as well as contact information for all of our panelists here. So if your questions come up tonight or tomorrow or over the weekend, feel free to submit them to that person directly. I'd like to say a couple of things really quick that just kind of brings this all together, which is what I've kind of learned from all of our awesome panelists today is communication is kind of key right now, and finding new ways to reach people. It may be video chats, you know, and here's the other thing. There's a ton of free offers on the table. Like, you don't even have to pay for most of the things that you need right now to connect with your team. Google Hangouts, WhatsApp, Facebook, FaceTime, these are all free offerings. Zoom even has a free offering. As long as you don't need to have 85 people in your webinar, you do have a free offering there. So looking for resources and being a little bit creative, because I can pretty much guarantee if you ask for a discount right now from any technology platform, you will be able to access one, as well as just free resources. So I think creating or thinking creatively and out of the box is super important right now. And you guys all gave us really good prompts to start thinking in that direction. How about we do a rapid fire, one question each panelist with about a minute or a minute and a half to answer. And then we'll just close it out and we'll send everybody all the resources at the end there. All right. I'm going to give this one to Caitlin, because this feels more like a mental health well-being question. What's a single action I can ask my employees to do today before the weekend to calm them and offer my support?
You know, I saw that come up, and it actually made me think of the same kind of thing that Chase, you were talking about as well, is gratitude is really powerful. And also, you know, we can also write letters to people still. So even something small like that, that's really tangible, and there's kind of a beginning, middle, and end to it. We can connect to people in that way. So even if it's just, let's all write a gratitude list or write one letter to a loved one that's very tangible, very doable, and kind of grounds us in that moment, can be really helpful.
Awesome. All right. I like this question. Katherine, what is your biggest fail and or success this week in the food front?
I think I'm gonna have to go with my fail, because the failures, you always learn more from the failures. So I am very, very frugal by nature, and I don't like to waste anything. And I had some milk that was on its way out, and I thought, oh, I'll make some chocolate pudding with this milk because maybe that'll be delicious. And I've actually done this before, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I made this beautiful chocolate pudding. My son loves chocolate pudding, had it in all these ramekins, and I took one bite, and the sourness was not obscured by all the chocolate and the eggs and the butter. So I had to toss the whole thing. So that was my fail of the week. But then I made a new batch, and it was extra good with fresh milk. So that was my fail for the week.
Awesome. Thank you. I think it's so important to be humans right now, right? And talk about that this isn't just easy and a walk in the park for all of us. Chase, I have a great question for you. How do you try and engage employees to keep their health at the forefront when they are low income or just in survival mode right now?
Yeah, I'm going to combine that with a question from earlier too about how leaders can start to introduce gratitude. And I think it's very important that if you're a leader in your organization, and that doesn't mean your title, anyone can be a leader. If you want to have a voice and be a champion for change in your organization, it has to start with you and your vulnerability and kind of being honest with your emotions, creating that psychologically safe workspace, rehumanizing the workspace. I cried in a team meeting on Monday. I cried in more than one meeting on Monday, which is not something I do very often. But I think really encouraging your people, like hopefully you genuinely care about your workers. That's what we're hoping for. And I'm sure if you're here, you do. So letting them know we really care about you. We want to take care of you. Asking them how we can support you, I think is important. And continuing to send things out. So pushing out information, things like Caitlin did with the breathing exercise. I know I just created a calendar with Lauren, who's my teammate at the Partners Group, and we're doing different activities every day. We're doing wall sit Wednesdays, free. I'm talking on Tuesdays. Someone's hosting a virtual coffee chat on Thursdays where people can just come into a Zoom meeting and chat. So I think letting your employees know that they have to take care of themselves first so they can be a good human to, maybe they're a parent or a spouse, or, you know, they're just like me, they're single and they want to, you know, still be healthy. And to be the best employee, they have to take care of themselves first. So it's not selfish to put yourself first. Encourage your employees to do what they need to do to take care of themselves, provide them with the resources so that they can be. That's the goal of a workplace in this environment. Individuals still have to have personal responsibility, but a workplace should be providing the resources. So try to give them that hand up so that way they can take care of themselves. And leaders, communicate, be vulnerable, lead by example. That's how you're gonna get through this, is we're all in this together, and leaders really have to step up right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I keep going, as you're talking, I keep going back to the thing that they tell us every time we get on an airplane. What do you do with the air mask when it comes down, right? You put it on yourself first, because you are no use to anybody else, and you can't help anyone around you unless you have your basic needs met. So for these folks that are in survival mode right now, there's definitely that mind shift opportunity and all those tips that Chase just offered. But I think, as well as what she mentioned, is it is kind of our job as well to provide the first resources to help them kind of get stable before we can even come up a layer and ask them to start acting mindfully and practicing gratitude and all these things, right? They have to know that they're actually going to be okay and they can put food on the table for their family before they can start exercising at home, right? So thinking through the lens of, like, what are the resources I can provide them right now that are the most important for them to just get basic hierarchy of needs, the bottom layer met, right? And then we start to work up those. But to Chase's point, there's a lot of free opportunities too that you can float their way. But yeah, show up in their lives. I think it's a really relevant time to do so. Charlie, I like this. What should we tell our employees about how to spend or how to save right now? Because it's a little bit different than it usually is.
Well, I will defer to what I call my 5 pillars of financial wellness. And the very first one is take control of your spending. If you're here today and you have 30 and 40, maybe 50 debit card transactions, you know, how many of those are wants and how many are needs, right? You could actually create a wants and needs list, and you can maybe spend once per week. Maybe Sunday's the day that you do all your spending, and you can be very thoughtful, and you will be surprised of how many things go from your needs list over to wants, and then maybe you can be more thoughtful on that list as well. So, you know, create a list, wants and needs, and take control of your spending. Save for emergencies. But even when we get past this, don't just save for emergencies. You know, most experts will say you need to have 3 to 6 months worth of savings for an emergency. But do we stop saving at that point? The answer is no, because that's part of our wealth building strategy, right? After you have 3 to 6 months built up, you're going to convert that to a money market savings. You're going to attach it to a brokerage account. I'll teach you how to take a bucket approach, and you can have your money going to work while you're working at the same time. And that's where incredible happens. Reduce debt, but not just reduce debt, but stop what got you into debt to begin with, right? Is using those credit cards and letting them kind of take control of us, and build equity in your house. And not just build equity, but pay off your house in less than 30 years. Because if you can pay off your house in 15 years or 10 years, imagine that 180 months times your mortgage payment going into a growth account, compounded growth, and then save for the future. And this is where you can leave money behind and have a legacy and have money to give. And that's what life's about, is making that contribution so you can make a better contribution than ever before. Hopefully that's helpful. I know that's like a mile high, but hopefully that gives you, that answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of have to go a mile high right now. Thank you so much, Rob, for passing along the quotes. Those are really awesome. One thing I want to share really quick that someone on my own team told me last week, and it has completely changed the way that I am organizing my life right now. So I put it into play, and here I am. I actually got dressed today. You know, I've got pants on, so this is great. Emily, our senior customer success manager, told me that every morning she is still getting up, getting ready for work, going on a bike ride because she bikes to work, going back home, and then starting work. And at first I was like, man, that seems like a lot of work, right? When you're just going in a circle. But then she told me, she's like, it's because you got to build structure into your life. And it's really important to continue to do some of the same things, And so this week I've implemented, exercising and breathing into my morning and really structuring it like I would before going to work, coming home. You really have to start to set boundaries. Because boundaries start to get very blurred when you're working in the same house as you're living and you're eating and you're with your family or your housemates. And so that was kind of my big wow moment this last week. Well, I think we're going to close it out for now. We'll send out the resources, the video, the deck, and everybody's contact information and information about their businesses. So if you do have further questions, please feel free to reach out. And one other thing I want to mention, we are going to be hosting another webinar for employees, general public, consumers, literally anyone in the world that wants to attend. And it's going to be geared less towards employers and what we can do to support our employees, but you can invite your employees to come to this webinar. And we'll be talking about those free apps that I mentioned. I'll have all the lists ready to go. We'll send out all the information after. So there'll be a lot of accessible resources for those individuals, their families, and your communities to use right now as well. So thank you so much, everybody. We wish you well and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, Arturo was here. That makes me so happy. And Amanda. Hi, Amanda. I see so many people I know. I know I haven't fallen off, Rob, but I'm just like, it makes me very happy to see so many of my amazing, talented colleagues are on here as well. Hey, Dustin. Oh, Carissa. All kinds of awesome people are here.